Let me tell you something strange about people who disappear. Not the ones who die or the ones who move away, but the ones who are here one day, in your calls, your memories, your everyday life, and then suddenly they're gone without any fight or explanation. It's as if they folded themselves out of your story without leaving a trace, without even saying goodbye. And that silence, it echoes louder than words ever could. We live in a world that talks so much about connection, about staying in touch, about reaching out, but nobody teaches you how to live with the ache of someone who simply vanishes. No closure, no reason, no final conversation. Just the quiet realization that someone who once knew your soul has chosen to disappear from it. But why does it happen? What's really going on in the mind of someone who can leave without looking back? And what does it do to the person left behind, the one staring at the empty space where a friendship or love used to be? Because make no mistake, disappearing is its own kind of language. And if you listen closely, it tells you more than words ever could. Sometimes people disappear because they've reached an emotional wall. A point where continuing to stay connected feels heavier than leaving. You might never see that weight. You might never even sense it. But to them, it's there. Maybe it's guilt or fear. Or maybe it's a quiet exhaustion from trying to be someone they can't anymore. See, not everyone knows how to say, "I can't do this anymore." So instead, they vanish. It's not always cruel. Sometimes, it's the only way they know how to escape their own confusion. Psychologists call it avoidant detachment. It's a behavior rooted in fear of confrontation, of vulnerability. For people like that, silence feels safer than honesty. Leaving feels easier than explaining. Because explanation means they have to look at their own reflection, and that's not something everyone is ready for. But to the one left behind, it doesn't feel like fear. It feels like betrayal. Like one day you mattered, and the next you didn't. You keep replaying old conversations, searching for clues. You read their last message again and again, wondering if there was something hidden between the lines. You check their Instagram profile, their stories, their last scene. And every time you don't find them, you feel the loss all over again. But here's what most people don't understand. When someone disappears from your life, the pain isn't just emotional, it's psychological. Your brain is wired for patterns, for continuity, for story. And when someone leaves without warning, your mind can't close the loop. It keeps reaching for them like a missing sentence. It can't finish. That's why it hurts for so long, because your brain is still trying to solve a mystery that has no answer. There's another layer to this, the kind that goes unspoken. Sometimes, the person who disappears isn't trying to hurt you. They might actually be protecting themselves, or worse, protecting you. Maybe they're going through something they don't know how to explain. Maybe they're drowning, and the only way they can survive is by pushing everyone away. It's not fair, but it's human, because some people don't know how to bleed in front of others. They'd rather go quiet than be seen broken. You see, disappearance is often the shadow of shame. Shame about not being enough. Shame about changing. Shame about not being able to love the same way anymore. And when shame grows heavy, the easiest escape is absence. But not every disappearance is soft or well-intentioned. Sometimes people vanish because they're done taking responsibility. Because disappearing gives them power and control. It's emotional cowardice dressed as mystery. It's the modern ghost story, not about haunted houses, but haunted hearts. And yet, even then, the silence teaches you something important. That closure doesn't always come from the other person. Sometimes, Closure is what you build for yourself, piece by piece, when you finally stop chasing answers. Have you ever noticed how people say, if they wanted to, they would? It's true, but not always in the way we think. Yes, if they wanted to stay, they would have, but sometimes they can't. Not because of you, but because of themselves. Because staying means confronting something inside them that feels unbearable. And some people would rather vanish than face that truth. It's hard to accept, but sometimes people leave right when they love you most, because love makes them feel exposed, fragile, too seen. And not everyone can handle being seen that deeply. There's also the psychology of guilt. When people disappear suddenly, they often carry guilt like a ghost in their pocket. Even if they don't show it, even if they seem fine, part of them knows they left something unfinished. That's why sometimes, months later, they might reach out again. A random message or memory, just to see if the door is still open. They'll say they were busy or dealing with things. But what they're really trying to say is, I left, but I never forgot. The cruel part is, by then, you've already done the work they avoided. You've cried, questioned, healed, rebuilt. And suddenly, their return feels like reopening an old wound that was finally starting to fade. Because they want connection without accountability. And that's something you no longer owe them. Let's talk about you now, the one left in the silence. What happens to your psychology when someone you trusted vanishes? At first, it's disbelief, then self-blame. You start replaying moments, wondering if you said something wrong, if you missed a sign. Your mind goes into survival mode, trying to rewrite the story so it makes sense. Because humans crave meaning more than closure. We'd rather blame ourselves than accept chaos. But eventually, something deeper happens. You start learning the language of absence. You begin to understand that some people leave not because you were unworthy, but because they were unready. That sometimes the disappearance has nothing to do with your value and everything to do with their emotional capacity. Here's the thing most heartbreaks won't tell you. Disappearance is a mirror. It shows you what you expected, love or friendship to be, and what it actually was. It forces you to confront your own patterns. Why did you hold on so tightly? Why did you ignore the red flags? Why did their silence feel louder than your own voice? In that reflection, something begins to shift. You start realizing that the people who disappear often leave behind something unexpected clarity. Because silence, as painful as it is, reveals truth. And truth, no matter how cold, always frees you in the end. But here's what's fascinating. Sometimes the people who disappear from your life aren't meant to stay. They were lessons disguised as love. They were mirrors that showed you your own depth, your own resilience. They were chapters, not the book. Psychologists talk about the phantom limb effect in relationships. It's when someone's absence still feels like a presence, when your mind keeps reaching for them even after they're gone. That's what heartbreak does. It rewires your sense of self. Because love doesn't just connect two people, it blends them. And when one vanishes, you have to find where you end and they begin again. It's not easy, but over time, the ache softens. You stop checking if they've seen your story. You stop drafting messages you'll never send. And you start living in the present again, not the past. That's when healing begins. There's one more truth about people who disappear. They never truly vanish. Not completely, because the way they left stays with you. It becomes a part of how you see connection, trust, and love. You start paying attention to consistency, You learn that effort means more than words. And you promise yourself never to make someone your home when they're still learning to live in themselves. You see, people who vanish often teach you boundaries in the most painful way possible. They teach you that love isn't proven by staying. It's proven by showing up again and again, even when it's hard. And when someone can't do that, it's not your job to teach them how. It's your job to let them go. But still, sometimes, late at night, you'll think about them. Not with anger, not even with sadness, just a quiet wondering. Where are they now? Do they think about you too? Did they ever realize what they left behind? And maybe that's the quiet beauty of it all. People come and go. They appear, they disappear, they leave traces in your memory like fingerprints on glass. But life doesn't stop for the ones who left. It reshapes around the absence. You grow softer. You grow wiser. And you start understanding that not every connection is meant to last. Some are meant to awaken you. So the next time someone disappears from your life, don't chase. Don't beg for reasons. Let them go with grace. Because their silence is not your reflection, it's theirs. And one day, you'll wake up and realize you no longer need an explanation. You'll just feel a quiet gratitude for having loved, for having felt, for having survived. Because disappearing might be their story, but healing is yours.